last week, mostly working. And today we're going to wrap it up, clean up the API, make it nice to use for people who are actually using the library, see if there's any bugs, and get this thing ready to go out into production and start being useful to, to other people. There's like a whole 200 people supposedly using this library, which is pretty cool. And none of them are using it with Firebase because they can't, but it's the most requested feature. So here's where we're at right now. We have this example repository where you can sign in as Swizzets, you can click next, then you can use my super secure password to, to actually log in as me, sign in. It redirects you back to the beginning because sign in worked. And if you reload the page, this part doesn't work yet, but if you load the page down here, it's going to print that, yes, you are a recognized user. So that's working. What we need to do now is actually integrate the, crap, I need to get a streaming board. So, okay, no more changing scenes. Cool, so I'm not gonna be changing scenes and making my face bigger and smaller. What we need to do right now is go into the code here in Firebase UI.ts, this one here, and we're going to make the API keys and stuff configurable because right now they're hard-coded in the library directly, which is not a great idea. And we're going to fix how the user is communicated to the rest of the use auth machinery, saved into X state and all of that stuff, so that use auth actually knows that you're logged in and shows you the correct, does the right things. So let's start with, what should we start with? Let's start with actually printing the user when the user is correctly logged in. So we're going to console log hi and say user.toJSON. This is a tip I got from Twitters. We're gonna do that, and then for default params, we can ignore that for now. We have this UI.start, which goes into the Firebase Auth container. We are going to, are we console logging this? Yes, we are. So we need to correctly get the user. Let's do .toJSON to mark the user as authenticated. And then we're going to need the auth result, which I don't know yet what it looks like. So we're doing this. That's working. We're dispatching that you are currently authenticated. And then let's see, what does xstate do when that happens? So in use auth reducer, where are you? Where did I put that stuff? Use auth source. Wow, how can I not remember this? ls source in auth. Oh, is it? Oh, auth reducer. So auth reducer is the xstate state machine. So what happens when we are authenticating and then we become authenticated? We go down here, log out. Those are the actions, and then we save user to context and we save to local storage. What does save user to context expect? It expects to get data from the event, the current user and the auth result, and then we need to fake the auth result .expires in function, which is something we've done in Netlify JS. So we're going to do it here as well. Sweet. Hey, Rajiv. How are you? Welcome to React. Welcome to the streams. We're currently working on a library I have for React, but what are you learning? Sorry, what was I gonna say? Yeah. How are you? And what are you doing to learn React? I'm really curious how you're approaching that. So we're going to fake the expires in because that's what my auth machinery expects. Where was I? Firebase UI. We're going to do this. Auth result is going to be a fake expires in, let's put it in, let's say 3,600 seconds. And we're going to console log the auth result so that we can see what it actually is. So auth result like that. And we're going to add a debugger statement there, which I think is going to get compiled away. Hey, Adrian, how are you doing today? So I think the debugger statement is going to get compiled away, but let's give this a shot. And then when we are checking the session here, check session needs to actually check the session. So we're going to, does it need to? So check session is a function that runs when you load your page for the first time, or when you come back to the page, it verifies that you're currently still logged in. So let's see what that, how are we doing that for Netlify Identity? The reason I'm checking with Netlify Identity is because it's relatively similar. So here we go. We're going to grab the user from, yes. Okay, so I'm gonna just copy this because it's very similar. And go into Firebase UI. And here where we are checking the session, we are going to use this part, this Firebase Auth current user. So we do that, Firebase Auth.current user. Then do we need to do dot to JSON? Yes, let's call to JSON. To JSON on that, and we're going to pass that in and say 3600 because I don't know the auth result yet. Hey, Fuzzy Buddy, haven't seen you in a while. How are you? Where did I get the auth result? User.token. So let's console log the user here. Check session user. Oh, nice. How are you teaching your son chess, Adrian? That's always seemed like a very tricky proposition. Okay, so we're trying this stuff. I'm now going to run yarn build to compile the changes that we've made. The reason I'm making a lot of changes without testing is because my testing loop is kind of slow. I have to publish a new library and then install it in the example app and then reload the page, which takes time. So I'm trying to do as much as possible in advance. Fuzzy, COVID here is still going kind of crazy. You know, the US in general is not doing that great, but I've heard that from Thursday onward, we're going to be able to go do outside seating at restaurants again. So that's nice. How's COVID at where you are? Where are you, Fuzzy? I forget where you're from. Ooh, that's a really good approach, Adrian. I like the idea of asking him to learn and then teach you. That's a really, like, teaching others is a really good way of learning stuff. Okay, so right, the micro bundle is still pretty slow because this code base is becoming kind of large and ridiculous. And I think TypeScript is slowing it down. So let's see how fast that goes. Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah. New Zealand, Corona. I've heard that you're doing pretty well over there. Ooh. Awesome. Thank you, Rajiv. If there's something that doesn't make sense, please ask away in the chat room. That's kind of why I'm hanging out here. Also, it's interesting. I guess these evening streams, Adrian and Fuzzy, are very good for people who are, I guess, further west than me at this point, because this is the evening. Maybe I need to have morning streams as well. Okay, so we go into package.json, update the pre-patch version to -9, and say npm publish. Also, Adrian, if you want to have a lot of fun with your son, once he learns the basic moves, try teaching him reverse chess. I used to play that with my sister, and it's like 10 times more fun than normal chess. Yeah. Interesting. Adrian, do you usually get a lot of people watching your videos right away, or is it more like in a while? So yarn add, okay, reverse chess. The way reverse chess works is that, so all of the pieces move the same way as usual. White starts, black goes second. The only difference is that your goal is to have all of um, the goal of reverse chess is to have all of your pieces taken by the opponent. And if you say that, if you say, I don't know what the English word would be, but in Slovenian we say eat. So, or I guess you would say take. So if you say take, your opponent has to take one of your pieces in that round. You're not allowed to say take if that's not possible, but they are allowed to choose which one of your pieces they take based on what's possible to take. So it leads to really interesting dynamics. Wow. Also 150 concurrent viewers at one time. I need to learn your tricks, mister, because I get like 10. Okay. So we're now restarting Gatsby to see what happens. Okay. So let's see. We should now get check session ran, or well, hi ran, making fun of the Microsoft website design. Okay, yeah, well, that'll do it. So we get this stuff. Okay, so we got the right user. That's kind of weird. Why does user info have the API key? What the heck? Firebase, what is wrong with you? What is, seriously, Firebase, what the fuck? This is such a trash fire. What is the type for this stuff? How do I find out? Okay, well, first let's try to log in again and see if that works. So we click login. I'm going to log in as moi. Next. I mean, I guess you guys can know my password. It's 12345 and so on. Sign in. Aha, great. So that worked. We got the user. Welcome to your hi. Why did hi not work? Because if we go to index.js here, come on, is authenticated user.name. We don't have a name. The name, how does the user not have a name? What is the user info for Firebase? Firebase auth user info. Let's see if there's a correct way to get user info. Public interface user info. Get display name, get email, get phone number. Oh my. Are you shitting me? Really? Who designed this? Okay, Firebase user, get display. You have to run get display name. So if I run user.getDisplay, oh no, because we're turning it to JSON. Haha. Okay. So how would we make this more useful? We need to, I guess we can just pass .current user, and I guess people who are using Firebase Auth would be used to using directly the current user. I guess that, yeah, that works. So let's see. When we are dispatching, we need to dispatch with the full current user, not turning it to JSON. That didn't actually run. That's weird. Yeah, it's better than all the everything I got last time, but it's kind of, actually, yeah, let's go with to JSON, and it's just that it's display name, not dot name. That makes sense. So we go with display name. I'm still not sure why we get the API key, but whatever. So we get that. And now I need to go and in our, let's see, where are we defining types? So the auth user needs to be expanded to also allow the Firebase auth user. How do I do that? Firebase user TypeScript. Let's see. Firebase user TypeScript. That will give us a cleaner API so that people can know what to actually expect. So JavaScript SDK, Firebase.user, a user account. Let's see. If we go to package.json, do I have types for this? Types for, no, I did not need to install that. Firebase options. Bleh. Does anyone know how do I get, like, how do I import just the TypeScript definition for this? Oh, maybe user has a get user info. Get user info, no. So Firebase.user methods, display name, oh, these are properties. Properties, display name, email is anonymous, metadata. TypeScript is really cool. I think you're gonna like it, Adrian, once you try. So the user's unique ID, okay. So here, when we go to Firebase UI, we have a get user ID function, which does the right thing. So we can delete the user, we can get the ID token, token result, link and retrieve. Actually, I think the auth reducer, auth provider, auth 0. So the way we're using the user, I think we should let people access the underlying Firebase user, because they're going to, I feel like that's going to be useful for people who are actually used to using Firebase and who are trying to use Firebase. They're going to want to have access to, like, deleting all of these users. They're going to want to have access to managing the users and so on. So this should be the actual Firebase user. So I'm going to go back to Firebase UI and we're going to put the full current user into the thing. So current user, where are you? On auth status changed. On auth status changed. On auth state changed. What do we need to do here? I'm not sure yet what we need to do there. Maybe we don't need to do anything. So that stuff, dispatch, okay. We can, oh yeah, the debugger did get compiled out. We need to figure out what the auth result looks like. And then here, when we are checking the session, we are going to save the full user. That way people have access to all the methods. Now I just need to figure out how to import Firebase options, Firebase app, Firebase auth, namespace, okay. Let's see. If I open, let's go to node modules, examples, no node modules, and we find Firebase. So ABC, come on, scroll, DE. Does anyone else need to always repeat the full alphabet when they're trying to find the words? What if I just type Firebase? Okay, Firebase. And let's go with auth. Does this have type definitions? Nope. Oh, nice. Actually, I'm not sure what which one you're referring to? Fibucheros? I don't know how to pronounce that. Hey, fish and chips. Okay, so I fucking wish that. Why doesn't this export types? That's annoying. So how do I get the actual type? I guess we have to go with export type Firebase user equals type of Firebase dot user. Oh wait, we can do it this way. Wait, where was I? Firebase dot user. Yes. So this is an interface. Okay. Export type Firebase user equals Firebase dot user. So then we go into our types, and here where we have the auth user, where are we? Auth user, it can also be a Firebase user, which we import from Firebase UI. Okay, that's gonna be helpful. And now we need to figure out what the auth result looks like. The auth result is here. So we have the auth result, which gets the user operation type, and it needs to have, so it gets the full user, the credential, the additional user info, but it doesn't get an expires in. So we are going to pass the full auth result back to, oh, the Solo Coder podcast. Yeah, I still haven't listened to that one. We recorded it like in December, I think. So I've forgotten what I talked about, but I'm glad you liked it. I really need to re-listen to it. So doing this, we're going to get the full auth result. We don't have it available here. Can we? Wait, okay, that's authorize. We get the auth result and we're gonna pass it in. That's the full underlying auth result needed for use auth itself to work. Now, how do we get here when we are checking the session? We get the current user. And we are not gonna have the auth result, are we? So here we're going to say, also, I wonder if the auth result has a type, but we can figure that out later. So needed for use auth to work. Okay, we've got that. Handle login callback. We don't need this one because we're redirecting stuff and it's not, at least I think it's not needed. We're going to play around with Firebase UI a little bit more and see if that's not needed. User roles, we're going to figure out how to do that. Return the user ID. We've got that part. To log out, how do we log a user out? Let's see. Log out. Seriously, Firebase user does not have a logout method. Update email. Wow. Get display name, get ID tokens, get metadata. Here, okay, we got that as display name. So get provider, get tenant ID, get UUID is anonymous, link with credential, re-authenticate. Manually refreshes the data on the current user. Okay, that seems useful. Oh, I could also update this. I mean, zoom in. Okay, let's Google Firebase Auth logout. How do I log a user out? Using password-based accounts. Okay. Log out. No, so that's yes. How do I log out? Sign in, next steps, security rules, manage users, linking auth provider credentials. Aha, dot sign out. Okay, wow. So we go with this dot firebase dot auth dot sign out. So we wait. How did I do logout on auth 0ts? Logout. This dot aha. Okay, log out, and then when it's successful, so we await. Oh shit! Yeah, we can await. So let's call this one. Let's do dot then, and then we logs user out on the underlying service, and then returns to. Let's see, what is use auth doing when you log out? Oh, it just runs logout and then dispatches logout and does navigation locally. Cool. So we don't have to deal with that in the provider. We just need to Firebase UI. We need to sign you out. The sign up dialog, we don't really have that because we just have Firebase UI, or we can figure that out later. So the next one I need is I lost my train of thought. God damn it. But we have logout. We have the current user in our state. We can refresh the user data, right? That makes sense. It's kind of like what we did with Netlify Identity. So user roles, user ID, check session here. We can say const user, we can say user.reload. User manually refreshes the data of the current user, attach providers, display name, and so on. Okay. Thrown if the current user's account has been disabled, deleted, or its credentials are no longer valid. Yes. So we are going to await user reload and await user, no, like this. So await user reload, and if the user exists, throws if user no longer valid. Perfect. So now we are correctly checking sessions. That's important. We're correctly checking sessions. The only thing left to do is that when the auth state changes, if we have a user, we're going to dispatch the authenticated action just to make sure that, what was I going to say? Let's check what on auth state change actually does. So on auth state changed. Wow. Okay, that's cool. So Firebase.auth on auth state changed. Let's see. On auth add an observer prior to blah. If user is signed in, we get the user. So if we got the user, that means the user is currently signed in. So we're going to dispatch the same authenticated action as here, which I think makes sense. Okay, so we are now correctly checking everything about the user and managing their state. We can also log out and do all of the other stuff. We're going to test that in a little bit. In the meantime, we're going to take the configuration and stop hard coding it. So I'm going to git commit -m manage Firebase user lifecycle. Got that. The auth result, I'm going to deal with the TypeScript for auth result some other time or a little later. First, we're going to take this and say we are going to auth options and Firebase options. Let's also pass in Firebase config as a, I wonder if there's a type for this. Firebase overview, Firebase app. Is there a type for Firebase config? Remote config, default app config. Okay, so there's none. We're gonna pass in Firebase config as a configuration, or I want to allow passing in an existing Firebase, initialized Firebase application, because I think that that's going to be useful to people. So Firebase config is a thing that looks like this. I'm going to use it here. Sign in options. Do we need those? We'll figure it out. So Firebase initialize app, we use params.firebase config, which is an object. And then I'm going to pass that in the example app. So in the example app, we go into Gatsby browser, and here params are going to have Firebase config, which is going to be my entire configuration, copy pasted from what is this complaining about? Okay, prettier, why? Oh, right. So prettier is complaining about this stuff. And now the reason I'm keeping this Firebase config as a giant blob is because as I was digging around the documentation, it looks like Google encourages you to copy paste the entire configuration blob into your project. So I want to enable people to keep doing that when they're using use auth. I think that changing it would be confusing to users. And if anyone out there is a Firebase user, please let me know, because that will help me understand how you're actually using this. So we've got Firebase config being passed in. I'm going to say that we expect an API key, we expect an auth domain, we are expecting a project ID, a storage bucket, a message sender ID, whatever that is, and we're expecting an app ID. Okay, now other than Firebase config, you can also use a Firebase, what is this called? Like a Firebase client, Firebase app. Let's call it a Firebase app, which is type of Firebase, right? API key undefined is not assignable to parameter of type object. Type undefined. Yes. Okay. So this dot Firebase, we get, what does the initialize app return? Firebase app dot app. So we say that this is Firebase app dot app. That's what we're expecting as a potential. So we're gonna say if params.firebase config, then we use the Firebase config, else if params.firebase app, we're gonna say this.firebase equals params.firebase app. That way you don't have to reconfigure it, you don't have to have multiple Firebase apps running. And otherwise, we're going to throw an error. Throw, please provide a Firebase config or initialized Firebase app. My opinion on Brave versus Chrome, I've kind of gotten used to Brave. I like that it has all of the privacy and stuff. It's actually kind of annoying sometimes because I have to keep filling out CAPTCHAs and dealing with ad blockers and stuff like that. But I guess that's a good thing because I don't want those ads, and it's annoying when websites say that you either have to enable ads or you can't see the website. But on the other hand, it gets me out of a lot of websites that would waste my time. So overall, I'm sticking with Brave. I don't love it, but it's okay. The frustrating part is when there are websites or web apps that just don't work in Brave for whatever weird reason. Okay, so we have this. Let's see, where were we? We've enabled configuration. We don't need custom property namespaces because that's for Auth 0. We are also we can deal with default params later. You will almost always need to dispatch this sign-in options. Where are we using these sign-in options? We're using them in default params. And when we are starting, we use those. Okay, so that's important. We need to keep that. Now, Firebase Config, Firebase App. We can also update this type here to Firebase App.app. And Auth UI, does that have, let's see, Auth, what are we calling? We're calling Firebase Auth UI.auth UI. What does that return? Okay, so we're gonna say Firebase. Wait, what does it return? Oh, yeah. So we can take this as the type for the UI part. Cool. On auth state changed. Argument of type user to void is not assignable to parameter of type. What did I break? Oh yeah, because user might be undefined, so we have to do it like this, no, or like this. There we go. So it needs to be firebase.user or null. Now I'm going to build this again. And then what did we change? We changed how configuration works. Yarn build. I need to learn to run slow scripts first and then start talking. So we changed how configuration works so that it's providable from the outside. We updated how current user behaves, and we updated how auth result behaves. So we should now have a pretty much working thing. The next step we're going to do is go try authentication with either Google or some other third-party provider via Firebase so that we can see how that behaves and then make that work as well. Other than that, this is a pretty much working solution right now. I think we're going to have to, I don't know if I'm going to do that on a live stream or just as a behind the scenes kind of thing. We're going to have to add support for using Firebase authentication without the Firebase UI part. Now let's see what failed. String or undefined is not assignable to type string. Oh shit, I should not be doing that on stream. Now what is on line 114, Firebase Auth user ID. Yes. So user ID has to be potentially undefined, which means we have to go update this everywhere because sometimes it really is not defined, and that was a bug in here. Oh, okay. So we're already pretending that this can be potentially undefined, a string null or undefined, which then means we have to go into Netlify Identity and go here. Where are we? Not user roles, but user ID. It needs to be string or undefined, right? And then we have to go into Auth0 TS and change user ID to be string or undefined. And then we go into types and we find the provider the provider object. Where is it? Use auth interface, auth provider interface. Here, user ID. Oh, string or null is what we're. Let's do string or null or undefined then. Right? That should make it work. Let's try building that again. Now let's see if it works. Okay. Let's see. So I'm gonna try to keep this stream on the shorter side because I have to go work out and then my girlfriend's making me watch The Bachelor. So I'm gonna try this next, see if it works, and then we're going to wrap up for today, and I'll have a overview or like a recap blog post out tomorrow morning. Let's see. Is this working? Best of luck to handle watching The Bachelor. Yeah, it's okay. I make her watch F1 during the entire F1 season. So I guess we're even. Although I think The Bachelor is worse for your brain than F1. Okay, come on. Firebase app. Load. Okay, come on, computer. You got this. You still have enough CPU to wrap up. Oh, why? Why, computer? Why are you slow? There we go. Oh, and I need to go into package.json, update this to -10, say npm publish, and I need to use my code, fake. Let's see, publish, yes, go here, add, update the version. Now the cool thing here is that we've been able to add support for Firebase basically without changing the actual underlying use auth library, which I find really exciting because it means that the abstraction layer I designed is okay, or I'm gonna toot my own horn and say that it's pretty good because it's so far supporting Firebase, Netlify Identity, and Auth 0, which I think is pretty cool. Now let's see if that's actually true. Yeah. So in progress, come on, you got this. Come on. And now, okay, configuration cannot read property auth of undefined. Poop. Okay, so that didn't work. Now let's see if logging in will work. Log in. Let's see, Swizzits at Swizzits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Okay, I logged in. It says hi Swizz. That's great. If we go to network, if we go to application, local storage, I should be in here somewhere. I am indeed in here. That's great. Ooh, there's even a photo URL and everything. Cool. Okay, so I'm in here. Expires at is in an hour or something. Now, if I reload the page, will I remain logged in? No. Because what did we break? Because we here, this.firebase.auth doesn't exist yet. Interesting. What can we do to fix that? So we got the user, but we're running into a race condition. We're basically saying that before use auth is configured, we're trying to use it before it's configured, So what can I do there? I'm gonna have to think about that. Almost sounds like I should find a way to use xstate to schedule an update and wait for a different action to finish and then run that update, which seems hard and something that I should ask David K. Piano on Twitter. So I think I'm not gonna say on that terrible disappointment because we did really well, really good today. I'm gonna ask David about that and then see see how I can wrap this up, make it better. And until then, there's going to be a what was I going to say? I'm going to write up a blog post or like a little recap about today. It's going to be, I think my brain is getting loopy. So recap of this is going to be on swizzes.com tomorrow morning. It's going to be in emails if you're subscribed to my newsletter. And after that, we'll see if we continue working on this or I'm going to start a new project next Monday. Bye. Oh, and thanks for watching. I sometimes forget to say shit like that. Bye all.